笑死了！我被领口罩了。恶人只有恶鸟魔。
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, teacher.
The International Labor Day is coming, and we're gonna have a 5 days break, right? Just like the spring break in the West, spring week in the West. Isn't it exciting? Rather exciting, right? Okay. And last week, we finished everything about the procedural rules of WTO law, that is the WTO dispute settlement. It's a very good thing. And this week, we are going to start on the substantive rules, beginning with Chapter 5, Rules on Non-Discrimination. I think this content is not that unfamiliar because we've learned this in the general course, in the course of the general theory on international economic law, right? It includes MFN and NT, right? Most favored nation and national treatment. Prior to going to the content of Chapter 5, Rules on Non-Discrimination, let's first recall something about the procedures. Question: how many procedures do we have after the appellate body proceedings? After the appellate body proceedings. Which means the AB report has already been finalized. We've already got an AB report. What would happen after that AB report? We can always submit the AB report to the DSB for adoption, right? That's one option. And what if something else happened? For example, what is the reasonable period of time for implementation? How do we resolve that kind of dispute? To determine the reasonable period of time for implementation, we turn to Article 21.3c, arbitration on the determination of the reasonable period of time for implementation. Right? Good. That's one procedure. And what else do we have? What else procedure do we have? Let's say the party has already implemented the AB report, but how to evaluate that? Is it consistent with the WTO law? Then there will be a disagreement between the parties on whether the AB report is implemented or whether the implementation is WTO consistent. So this kind of procedure, we call it implementation review procedure. In which article? It's in Article 21.5, implementation review procedure. Okay? This procedure also very important. What else? What else procedure do we have? Let's say, for example, the implementation is WTO inconsistent. It is WTO inconsistent. What would the winning party do? It will request to the DSB for authorization for retaliation, right? The implementation is WTO inconsistent. The winning party will turn to the DSB for authorization. For authorization for retaliation measures. And this procedure is provided in 22.2 article. What else procedure do we have? We still got about maybe there will be some dispute on the level of the retaliation. So we've still got another one. It's in 20.6. It's called also arbitration. Arbitration on the determination of the appropriate level of retaliation. On the determination of the appropriate level of retaliation. Okay, so these four are the procedures that would happen after the AB proceedings. Rather important, 4 procedures. You'd better memorize the articles and the names of these procedures. Plus, there is one more important procedure. It's called MPIA. What's the full name of MPIA? Okay, let's recall together. Multi-party interim appeal. Arbitration arrangement. So what is the legal basis for this kind of procedure? We know this is an alternative to the traditional WTO dispute settlement proceedings. It's an alternative or replacement. The legal basis is it this one? 21.5? Actually, no. The legal basis for this procedure is 25. Not 21.5, but 25. A little bit confusing, so I made the mistake last week, right? Good. That's everything I'd like to recall. Then let's go directly to today's content. Rules on non-discrimination. As usual, I will pose several questions for you, and that's the way we learn the new content. Look at this page or this slide. There's one important thing about this one. My question is, can the rules on non-discrimination be the subject of trade disputes? Yes or no? The answer lies here. Okay, we might as well recall what kind of substantive rules do we have? Thus far, we've finished the institutional rules, right? The procedural rules. And the last part would be the substantive rules. Then, what substantive rules do we have? First one is rules on non-discrimination, right? The second one would be chapter 6. It's about rules on barriers, right? What's chapter 7 about? Unfair trade. Unfair trade means anti-dumping and countervailing measures. Right, good. And the last chapter would be exceptions, rules on exceptions. All these 4 chapters are about substantive rules. Right now, we are on chapter 5, non-discrimination rules. Okay, all the WTO disputes will be around these substantive rules. Yes or no? Yes. And we use these procedural rules to resolve disputes around these substantive rules, right? Good. Now let's learn the substantive rules. So my first question is, can the principle of non-discrimination be the subject of WTO dispute settlement? Yes or no? Of course, yes, because it is a substantive rule, right? So yes. Look, the answer is here. The prohibition of discrimination is a key concept in WTO law and is often the subject of trade disputes between WTO members. Although it is a basic principle, it can also be the subject of WTO dispute settlement. A lot of disputes, actually. Okay? Good. Then let's move on. You need to know what are included in the principle of non-discrimination. We've got 2, right? First is MFN. The other is NT. Good. Then you need to remember the specific articles for these 2. Okay. And we can divide them into goods, trading goods, trading services. This one also goods and services. Then, which article is MFN for trading goods provided? Article, good, Article 1 of GATT 1994, right? What about national treatment for goods? Article 3 of GATT 1994. Okay. And what about MFN for services? Article 2, GATT. And what about NT for services? Yes, good. Article 17. Article 17 of GATT. So you need to remember these 4 articles. Remember all these articles. It's rather simple, right? 1, 3, 2, 17. Memorize these 4 articles. Okay, let's move on to this part. MFN for the goods, for the trading goods, which is provided in Article 1 of GATT 1994. This one, the MFN treatment obligation concerning trade in goods. Okay. Question. What is the principal purpose of the MFN treatment obligation? The principal purpose of the MFN treatment obligation is to ensure all WTO members what? The keywords. Exactly, very good. Equal opportunity. Opportunity to export or import. Export to or import from other WTO members. It's about equal opportunity. That's the principal purpose. Memorize that. Okay, next question. To determine the inconsistency of a measure with the MFN treatment obligation of Article 1.1 of GATT 1994, how many questions would the panelist ask? How many? To determine the inconsistency of a measure with the MFN treatment obligation in Article 1.1 of GATT 1994, how many questions would the judge ask? 4 questions, right? Good. So, as you can see, the 4 questions are listed here. These questions are just like the legal requirements. Legal requirements. For example, I'll give you a question. What are the legal requirements for, say, in civil law, 不当得利 unjust enrichment. What are the legal requirements for unjust enrichment? Legal requirements, 3 or 4. That's something for your recall, okay? Similar to that, these 4 questions are just like the 4 requirements for the inconsistency of a measure with the MFN treatment obligation. That's why you need to answer all these 4 questions. Question number 1. Is the measure at issue of the kind covered by Article 1.1? Is the measure covered by Article 1.1? That's the first question. If it's not covered, then that's a wrongful application of law. Question number 2. Does the measure at issue confer a trade advantage? Advantage means a benefit. Just now we mentioned the principal purpose of the MFN treatment obligation is to ensure equal opportunity. If one WTO member is conferred an advantage than the other WTO member, of course, the opportunity is not equal. Right? Good. So, whether there is an advantage. Question number 3. Are the relevant products, like products, rather important? Can you claim equal opportunities between a marker, as you can see this, and a cell phone? Can you? Can you claim equal opportunities between a marker and a cell phone? Yes or no? No, because they are not like products, right? Good. And question number 4. Is the advantage at issue not granted immediately and unconditionally to all like products concerned? Granted immediately and unconditionally to all like products. Okay, that's the 4 questions. We will discuss all these 4 questions one by one. Okay. That's the legal requirements. Okay. Question number 1. Is the measure covered by Article 1.1 of the GATT 1994? Question. What measures fall within the scope of the application of Article 1.1? What measures fall within the scope of Article 1.1? That's the same meaning as covered by Article 1.1. What measures? As you can see here? Good. Border measures and good. Border measures and internal measures. Very good. Border measures. And behind the border means internal, right? Domestic measures, internal measures. Okay, good. Then, next question would be, what are included in the internal measures? What are included in internal measures? Good. Internal taxes and internal regulation. Taxes and regulation. This is for internal measures. Okay, next questions. What measures do not fall within the scope of the application of Article 1.1? What measures are specifically excluded from the coverage of Article 1.1? What measures, as you can see here? Government procurement measures. That's an exception, right? Good. Remember this sentence. Where there is a will, there is a way. Good. Then make a sentence like this one. Where there are rules, there are exceptions. Good. So memorize this sentence, okay? Where there are rules, there are exceptions. And that's why we've got chapter 8, exceptions. Okay, good. Next slide would be the advantage, benefit. I confer a benefit to this country. Well, not give it to the other country. That's a discrimination, right? There is an advantage involved. Then what does advantage mean? You need to get the keywords. What does an advantage mean? It refers to what? Measures. It refers to measures that create more favorable competitive opportunities, or measures affect the commercial relationship. So there are two circumstances. One is create more favorable competitive opportunities. The other is affect the commercial relationship. Of course, the relationship is between products of different origins or for different destinations. The competitors. Okay? Then let's move on to the third question, like products. Like products. How to define like products? What are like products? It's also about competition. Look here, it's about competitive opportunities. But here, it's about competitive conditions. Okay, competitive conditions. What are the 4 factors to be considered in establishing the competitive relationship of the products in a particular market? Here. The determination of whether products are like products is a determination about the nature and extent of the competitive relationship between and among those products in a particular market. The 4 factors to be considered are listed here. Yes, good. Number 1 is physical characteristics. Number 2 is consumer tastes and habits. Number 3 is about the end use. Number 4 is about tariff classification. Tariff classification. Yes. Next comes the difficult question about the fourth question. What does unconditionally mean? Question number 4, immediately and unconditionally. What does unconditionally mean? Immediately, it's easy to understand. What does unconditionally mean? Japan surrenders unconditionally. What does that mean? At the end of the World War II, Japan surrendered unconditionally without any conditions attached, right? But in this context, what does unconditionally mean? Does it mean that Article 1.1 prohibits a member from attaching any conditions to the granting of an advantage? Yes or no? No. Actually, it can attach conditions. Although it's called unconditionally, but the member can attach conditions. Isn't it contradictory? Isn't there any contradictions? Are there any contradictions here? Let's recall what's the principal purpose of the MFN treatment obligation: to ensure equal opportunities. Equal opportunities. For example, I really attached one condition. But what if this condition is equally attached? Will that violate MFN? No, because the equal opportunities are not affected, although I attached one condition, right? Because it's equally attached. So pay attention to the word unconditionally. It's not like no conditions attached, but like equal conditions are attached. Okay, as you can see here. Okay, that's everything for the MFN treatment obligation concerning trading goods. It's in Article 1, GATT 1994, and a four-step test will be examined by the judge. 4 questions. For the remaining 3 articles, they are similar. They are similar. But different questions will be asked by the judge, will be examined by the judge. We will not explore them that deeply, one by one, because we don't have all day long. And that's why I decide to pick up some of the key points and the differences with this first one. Okay. Now, let's look at the MFN treatment obligation of GATS. In Article 2 of GATS, okay, this part. MFN treatment obligation concerning trading services is provided in Article 2 of GATS. This is the principal purpose or main purpose. It's exactly the same with the principle of MFN treatment obligation of Article 11 of GATT 1994. Equal opportunity. Okay. In this context, how many questions will the judge ask? 4? Still 4 questions? No. There are only 3 questions that need to be considered or answered. The first question, covered by Article 2.1. Second question is, are they like services and service suppliers? Number 3 is, immediately and unconditionally. A little bit different. What's the difference? Which question is omitted? Yes, an advantage. There's no an advantage here. Good. Question. What are the only services not covered by the GATS? What are the only services not covered by the GATS? Yes, just like the government procurement, right? So the services supplied in the exercise of governmental authority. For example, the police service, the prison service. That's a kind of public services, governmental. It's in the exercise of governmental authority. Police services, prison services are excluded by Article 2.1 of the GATS. Okay, good. On this page, there's one important concept that needs to be highlighted. It's about regulate. Regulate. The noun form of regulate is regulation. My question is, does to regulate mean to affect? To regulate equals to affect? No, apparently not. Which one is broader? Yes, good. Affect is broader. Oh, sorry. Affect is broader than regulate. Affect. The scope of effect is broader than regulate. Regulate must be related to regulations, right? Regulations. Then when can we say that a measure affects trading services? Affect means bears upon, has some implications or consequences on the conditions of competition, right? Good. Okay, so far so good. Let's take a break of 5 minutes and we'll come back later.